Pokémon! It's the biggest media franchise out there, like in the entire world. Like bigger than Star Wars, Hello Kitty, Marvel, and the mustache man Mario himself. A kid is more likely to recognize Pikachu before Michael Rodent, ain't that something? But how in the world did this mouse get so popular? The Pokémon Company, founded by Nintendo, Game Freak, and Creatures, released its first titles, Red and Green, in Japan for the original Game Boy in February 1996. This series exploded in the late 90s, and brought about several branches that would become tentpoles of the company today. Video games, animated series, movies, and merchandise, these all worked in tandem to create the highest grossing media franchise in the world. Accompanying those different forms of media was the emergence of what would become one of the most popular crazes that's still around today, trading cards. Well, hello there everybody, so good to see you! If you were lucky enough to grow up in the 90s, you most likely know at least somebody who collected and traded these Pokemon cards from Gen 1. And if you're not in my age range, you can probably find a family member who got Pokemon cards from a Happy Meal. As is the standard with card games, these cards walk the line of being different but very similar from the ones back then to now. But some of these new names and terminology scare me. What the heck is a Rapid Strike? This was an era before we had regional forms, Gigantamax, or cards categorized to tools, stadiums, supporters, and so on. Therefore, I just may have no idea how to play today. But I do know how to play Gen 1. Oh no, am I a Gen 1er? On occasion, these forms of media would cross over. We'd get a puzzle game heavily influenced by the anime, a video game spin-off that would turn into an entire movie, and then there's this title, the Pokemon Trading Card Game. Developed by Hudson Soft, this released on the Game Boy in North America on April 10th, 2000, and in Europe on December 15th of the same year. The Pokemon trading card game begins with you, the Pokemon-loving character named Mark, also known as Paku in Japan. Paku, like pack, as in like a booster pack of Pokemon cards? Imagine being named after a pile of cards. We're just gonna name this kid Daniel. Anywho, Daniel grows up loving Pokemon and collecting the cards like the big fan that he is. One day, I guess he got bored at home and set off on a journey to collect the 4 legendary Pokemon cards. In a similar structure to Red and Blue at the time, you must travel between 8 different clubs and defeat the 8 club masters to earn a medal. After choosing a deck between 3 familiar starters, you can battle most NPCs in the world, each will give you a couple of booster packs to strengthen your deck. Some of the booster packs and a huge amount of the Pokemon cards themselves are based on the real-life trading card game, with their artwork quite faithfully translated to the Game Boy's resolution. That's pretty much all there is to the story, if you can even call it that. You can have a little chat with all the people roaming the world, but in most cases you go from club to club, battling 3 members and then the club leader for a medal. There's no huge overworld to explore, this map is it. But I think that's okay, as the game revolves entirely around the card game anyway. You can assemble your cards into 4 separate saved decks. You can name them pretty much whatever you want with that huge character limit. Your starter deck is less than impressive, so it can take a while before you get a consistent deck build up. The rules of battle themselves aren't too complicated. You'll likely pick it up pretty quickly during the long hand-holding tutorial. Draw 7 cards and any basic or unevolved Pokemon can go onto the field. Any other in your hand can go into the bench. A coin flip determines the order and you're off. Each Pokemon has 1 or 2 moves that can be performed when the correct energy is attached to them. You can only attach 1 energy per turn, but you can use as many trainer cards as you like. You can also evolve Pokemon, of course, but only if that evolution is in your hand and the unevolved version on the field. While their HP goes up, the energy cost can increase quite a bit, so you'll often want to strategically time your evolutions. And your usual Pokemon flair exists too. You can apply status effects like confusion, paralysis, or poison, and cards might have weaknesses or resistances depending on their typing. Speaking of, it's nice that they simplified typing from the existing 15 at the time down to 7. Many are grouped together, but it still feels cohesive while mostly making sense. You're encouraged to make expert use of balancing your energy, trainer cards, and Pokemon typings to quickly knock out your opponents. Once you do, claim a prize card and add it to your hand. Once you either claim all prize cards, force your opponent's deck to 0, or knock out their last Pokemon with no more remaining on the bench, you win. Now do that everywhere, and try to collect as many of the 226 cards in the game as possible. While the core gameplay is obviously very different, there's a lot that follows the classic Pokemon template. You visit your resident white coat mentor, Dr. Mason, who gets you started, sends you a pack of cards digitally over email, and kinda flirts with you over said emails. Yeah, I'm gonna take my cards and go. As mentioned, you go to 8 different clubs to get 8 medals, and you even have a rival! Meet Ronald, the trading card game equivalent to Blue, who has just as much sass, and just look at this boy using the I'm Ronald deck. I can't tell if he's cocky or just uncreative. Much like Blue, he's always 1 step ahead of you and will chalk up his losses to a bad hand or something. Beat him and you might just get a promotional card. Is it weird to say that my favorite rival is from the Pokemon trading card game? I will tell you right now, this lad has the best rival theme from any Pokemon game. Seriously, why does his music go this hard? When you break it down, the Game Boy only had 4 channels of audio to distribute everything for sound effects, music, everything. It's extremely limited, but I feel like this is probably my favorite Pokemon soundtrack, like with Ronald's theme. Rivals aside, you can also participate in the challenge hall that's held every now and then. And look at that, it's like I'm at a live event. It's a cute little sideshow where you can earn some of the rare promotional cards that you can't find anywhere else. Speaking of real life, my brain was too small to process this back then, but you can visit the house to see Ishihara. That is the Tsunekazu Ishihara, co-founder of Creatures and CEO of the Pokemon Company. You can trade cards with him, and I think that's just cool in retrospect. There's another cameo from a real life person, and okay, this one gets a little weird. Sometimes when you explore the clubs, the music will change and you'll see this man dressed in a black suit named Imakuni? And I'm not saying that like I'm asking you, that is Imakuni with a question mark, because not even the game knows what's happening here. You can battle him for a chance to get many booster packs, and it's kinda not that hard due to when he plays the Imakuni card, which does, and I quote, "Your active Pokemon is now confused. Imakuni wants you to play him as a basic Pokemon, but you can't. A mysterious creature not listed in the Pokedex." He asks kids around the world, "Who is cuter, Pikachu or me?" That's wow, can you imagine if this guy was the face of the Pokemon Company? I respect his confidence, but really, why is he here, you ask? Tomoaki Imakuni is a Japanese musician who performed some of the music in the Pokemon anime, was responsible for much of the promotion of the trading card game, and even drew the art for several cards. He was in the manga for a bit. Just look at him, he's just a funny guy. Imakuni was put into the game as a joke? A tribute? I'm not really sure. As I make this, his picture has just been staring at me for a while, and the longer he sits there, the more he reminds me of... Wait a minute, is he like the Pokemon equivalent to Tingle? Imakuni just wants to become a Pokemon, and Tingle just wants to become a fairy. Oh man, these two should hang out. At the end of your card collecting journey, you'll face the Grandmasters, which pretty much are the Elite Four of this title. And it's no joke, you'll have to beat this gauntlet of 4 trainers, one after another. You can save and change your deck in between, but if you lose a single match, it's back to the start for you. Once you defeat all 4, you don't get the cards. Rao tells you that's because someone else already won them. Who in the world could... Oh snap, it's the boy Ronald! He is legendary. Look, see? His cards say so. After one final duel with Ronald using the legendary Pokemon cards against you, you beat your rival and earn the cards from him after using it just once. Huh. Yet another parallel to a certain champion in Red and Blue. Broken and defeated, he runs home and you bask in the glory of becoming the champion. I guess the equivalent of a champion. After receiving all 4 legendary Pokemon cards, the credits roll and the game wraps up. But your journey can't continue until you collect all 226 cards. I played this so much and got so close, only 3 cards left. Maybe one day. Despite the fact that there's so few characters in this game, it's weird how there's so many trainers named after the crew here at GVG. Daniel's in this game, using the nap time deck? Okay, yeah, that kinda checks out. It's kind of interesting to note that this is one of the only Pokemon games where actual Pokemon don't inhabit the world. Wow, who would ever want to live in a boring world like that? You know what, I can't even kid around about something like this. This is the most realistic setting the Pokemon games have ever had. This is literally a simulator of me going out, buying Pokemon cards, and making actual friends. That is fantastic. And depressing. Speaking of real life, this game came packed with a promotional Meowth card. This is unique as it was originally made for the Game Boy title, and then made into a real card as noted by the GB in the corner of the artwork. This is the only Game Boy related card to feature the GB symbol outside of Japan. Very nice. So how well did this game do compared to other Pokemon games? You might be surprised to discover that this game, with the power of branding and card collecting, is ranked as the 14th best-selling game across all Game Boy titles, with about 3.7 million units sold. That's a lot more than I was expecting. Surely with those numbers we would get a sequel, right? Sadly, the Pokemon trading card game never saw a sequel released. Overseas. Did you know there was a sequel to this game that was released only in Japan? March 21st, 2001 saw the release of Pokemon Card GB2, Here Comes Team GR, or otherwise known as the Invasion of Team GR. It has only ever seen fan translations over the years, but to this day has never gotten an official localization. As before, you can name your player character, but this time there's an option to be a girl named Mint. Oh, Mint, like mint condition? Oh, stop, that's too good. That's too good. We'll keep her. We'll keep her. Having been released just months after Pokemon Crystal, this is officially the second game in which you can choose to be a female protagonist in a Pokemon game. The story starts off exactly where the previous one left off. Having won the legendary Pokemon cards from the 4 Grandmasters, you are now pretty much the strongest duelist on the island. But a nefarious group known as Team Great Rocket, or Team GR, begins to steal the vast majority of everyone's cards from the clubs, including your own. Mint is literally Samus and loses all her powers at the beginning of the game. What universe is this? With the world in turmoil and absolutely no other hobbies to pass the time with, you hurry back to Dr. Mason to make a plan to get everyone's cards back. Unlike the first entry, Here Comes Team GR tells an actual story in a game world that's larger than the previous. It adds a lot of features with little tweaks that the original didn't have. One of the major ones is that it nearly doubles the amount of cards you can collect, bringing the total to about 440. You can check your mail and other deck features at any time with the minicom. There's also a lot of visual changes too. The background isn't this awkward off-white and instead is pure white to help the colors pop more. Almost every single card's design was made with more color added to them, making them appear a lot closer to the original artwork. And now, every single club has a visual identity instead of having the same entrance and lounge area. They're nice touches. Trainers have more expressions in battle, and you can even collect and change up the coins you use. The coins are completely cosmetic, but it's a fun change and it does help differentiate who's flipping a coin in battle. But as this is a sequel, it's a bit harder too. You aren't given a choice of a starter deck like you were in the last game, and you're just instead given one. You also won't always win 2 packs of cards from opponents now, you'll often only just get one. It fits into the idea of how scarce the cards have become, but man does it make it hard to get a proper and reliable deck going on in the early game. Fortunately, you can meet people who will give you an entire ready deck of cards to use during duels. Despite being the same exact map to start off with, it's actually a lot more open-ended. The game gives you just enough to get by with early duels, but you can also grind out cards to make a strong deck as early as you want, given that the booster pack pools are kind to you. You realize pretty early on that Team GR not only stole cards, but kidnapped people too? Are you telling me these goofs are more capable than the actual Team Rocket? I guess they earned their greater title. You go around to the familiar clubs, liberating them from the ownership of 4 specific GR. Defeating each one grants you a piece of a coin that you'll need to fly out to GR Island and save the cards and kidnap club leaders. But there's like actual personality to more characters now. The Rock Club was the only club able to defend themselves in their cards, so this GR member is all salty in the Fighting Club. The Fire Club is in a jail cell, and the women of the Water Club are being held captive in a pool, which is that's more than a little questionable, dude. See, it's little story elements like that that make the game stand out and really set it apart from the previous. Before you leave Dr. Mason's lab, you get stopped by an oh man, it's your boy Ronald, he's back! This time, your rival Ronald, instead of making fun of you and being cocky for the whole game, starts to collaborate with you and helps you along with tips over email. You don't duel him right away because he needs to build his deck again, but once you do, instead of getting better each time you beat him, he encourages you. He treats it more like a test to see how ready you are to take on Team GR, and then that's pretty cool. Is he becoming a good boy? It somewhat parallels the character growth you see in your rival from Pokemon Gold and Silver, and I was a Ronald fan by the end of these games. It wasn't that obvious, right? When you finally do collect all 4 pieces of the coin, it's time to go to GR Island. And here I thought, okay, we're gonna go to the main base, duel more people, and free everyone. Done and done, right? Nope. Pokemon Card GB2 Here Comes Team GR pulls a reverse gold and silver and gives you a whole second region to explore after you complete the original. There's a whole new set of club center, a separate challenge hall, and a game center which is a casino? Why is there gambling in this card game? How do I keep getting myself in this situation? There's even a gauntlet of card battles for you to challenge and wager your chips with each successive win. Oh, why do they enable me? When you're done losing all your chips, you might wander around the island to check out what's available, and it's not actually a whole lot. Unlike the original map, you're not allowed to explore many areas, and you get funneled into your first GR club. This is when the rules of the game begin to change. Up to this point, you might have noticed a plentiful amount of dark Pokemon, and likely will have collected a good amount of them yourself. While they provide some pretty strong effects, they very often have less HP than their traditional evolutions. The game essentially helped promote the Team Rocket series of cards, many of which you can obtain from unique sets released at the time. You can evolve basic Pokemon into a dark version of their evolved form, and from here on, you might specifically need those cards in your deck. Clubs might want a full model type deck, or that you have certain Pokemon loaded in, and the leaders will have unique stipulations that don't appear in other battles. You gotta adapt. There's even a club that turns into a mini labyrinth with treasure chests to earn. It feels like it popped right out of the main series, and thank goodness the run speed is so amazingly fast, or else I would go crazy with how long this can take. Sometimes after defeating the club leader on the island, you'll bump into this mysterious member called GRX. On your first encounter, you'll be challenged on the spot, and after, he reveals himself to be, oh my god, it's Ronald, the legend himself! He's been disguising himself as a GR member and steals back cards for people to start playing again, while giving you some as well. While he's off sleuthing, he'll also give you hints on how to take down the club leaders. What an absolute Chad. During your travels on GR Island, you might even run to your old friend Imakuni. Why is he red? Wait, he's not the same Imakuni? But he's... Huh? He really is just like Tingle with his weird brothers! I was half kidding earlier, but they're the same! Anyways, win against Imakuni and you'll get rocket booster packs, which are going to be more and more common at this point. As you battle, collect more coins, and unlock more clubs, you'll eventually make your way to Team GR's castle, where King Villasini resides. And oh no, even Ronald couldn't defeat him. We must avenge our brother. But these guys are so petty, they want me to have the 4 legendary Pokemon cards in my deck. So we pay a surprise visit back to the Pokemon Dome and do the whole saga dance again. This works pretty much the same as before, where you must defeat this world's version of the Elite Four one after another. But sadly, Ronald doesn't appear after like in the original. Aww. What's the point of getting these cards if I didn't pry them from Ronald's hands? And why do I have to earn them back again? Didn't I already earn these in the last game? They were stolen from me, that I earned. And the Grandmasters, they were kidnapped. And I saved them. It's like the situation wasn't as bad as they made it out to be. Were they gaslighting me? Afterwards, you head back to the castle to fend off his 2 grunts, and then there's this villainous monologue about cards? Look man, I don't care if they're strong or not, sometimes I just like the art. You enter one final duel, or so it seems. This is a best of 3 set, with both sides allowed to change their decks for each battle. So you gotta be ready. This final stretch of the game has you dealing with some of the wackiest Pokemon moves, effects, and strategies compared to the last game. You really gotta put some thought into your build and make sure that the synergy is there. Master that and you'll walk away the victor, showing the king that no, not every card has to be strong, because you had fun. The Pokemon card game is fun, everyone! He learns the errors of his ways and we can all go home and have a hobby again. This world's one singular hobby. Wait, what if he was trying to get everyone to stop playing so we could get a job? What if this was for the betterment of the economy? What if I'm the bad girl? As before, the credits roll, all is well, and you can go on a journey to collect all 440 something cards. Oh my goodness, good luck with that. You can't even get them all without the help of friends. Oh, and I didn't even talk about Card Pop. Are you using Card Pop with all of your friends? No. Using this tiny little infrared reader, you can have 2 Game Boys interact with each other to receive a random card that neither of you own yet. This made the game some of the few to ever utilize the feature, and was the only way you can earn some of the elusive Phantom cards. Similar to in-game trading within traditional Pokemon games, you can card pop with some NPCs like Ronald in this game. The feature does also exist in the first trading card game as well, but I don't have anyone to use the feature with. Dude, forget straight passing, I want a card pop with somebody in 2022. You might be wondering why this doesn't exist in English. Well, about a third of the cards don't have any English equivalent, and some of the sets were discarded completely. I imagine it makes it a lot less interesting when you can't earn some of the cards in physical form yourself. A lot of those cards weren't allowed in tournaments either. They may have decided that localizing the sequel just wasn't as profitable. It also released a few months before the Game Boy Advance did, and would have likely been released overseas during those first few months, which would have impacted the sales. As much as I enjoy the trading card game, I've met people who really don't. An issue that many people will find with these games is that they're a little too luck-based. When all is said and done and you've built the best deck to your ability, you're still at the mercy of the luck of the draw, coin flips, status, and extra effects. And even when you win a battle in the game and get a booster pack, you're not guaranteed to get a good pool of cards. Given that's the whole point when buying booster cards in real life, but this is a game. Sure, there's people to trade cards with, but not specifically with the ones you might want. And there's like some cards that I've genuinely never seen before. There's Porygon, and then there's Cool Porygon. You know, the Porygon she tells you not to worry about. In a traditional Pokemon game, you could use any Pokemon with any team and make it work by putting time and effort into your party. But with the trading cards, there'll always be that Pokemon with those skills and attacks, some which are just objectively not as good as others. People who are much more attracted to the formula Pokemon has built over the years might find that to be disappointing, and that's not a bad thing. Random chance happens in RPGs like Pokemon all the time. It's just that this might be a little too restrictive in its formula to please a wider audience. If you're interested in getting affiliated with the Pokemon trading card game and watching this before March 27, 2023 with funds in your wallet, You can still download this title on your Nintendo 3DS before the eShop completely closes down. Despite its age, I hear it's still a solid way to introduce yourself to the basic mechanics before they added more rules and systems over the years. I kinda want the Pokemon companies to make a game like this with up-to-date cards and a new adventure. I think it would get a whole wave of people into the Pokemon trading card game again. But given how infamous the game has become with scalpers, it's hard to say what kind of effects it would have if it suddenly boomed in popularity again, like at the time of its inception. It's a fun time, and I'm always gonna look back at this binder very fondly. Just like this page with the Charizard on it. If I had one! But that's our little look back at the Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color and its sequel. Did you play the original? Maybe card pop with somebody back then? Do you play the trading card game now, and did this look absolutely archaic to you? Feel free to share your card game experiences down below, and be sure to subscribe to Good Vibes Gaming for more looks at titles of classic and unreleased games like these and more. You can watch Brandon and I play games on our Twitch channel at Official GVG. And hey, for $1 on our Patreon at GV Gaming, you can join the rest of our Pokemon trainers on our Discord so you can show me all of your Pokemons, because some of us, we don't know how to build a good team. Please help. We'll have a good one, everybody. Till we meet again.